August 28th, our commission meeting will open with a slight rattle of the beautiful, bringing the meeting to order. First matter of business will approve the agenda. You can copy suggest changes that or some of the different. All in favor? I'll move on to our land acknowledgement. The city of Boulder acknowledges the city is on the ancestral homelands and unceded territory of indigenous people who have traversed, lived in, and stewarded lands in the Boulder Valley since time immemorial. Those indigenous nations include the Apache, Arapaho, Cheyenne, Comanche, Pawnee, Shoshone, Sioux, and Ute. The city of Boulder recognizes that those now living and working on these ancestral lands have a responsibility to acknowledge and address the past and must work to build a more just future. Question from last week. I know this was last meeting was a little hard to hear online. We haven't had any audio issues. Can you hear everybody okay?
I was able to, yes, I was able to check up the minutes. Okay, very fine. Thank you. Excellent.
All right, we're going to move on to approval of the last minutes. We've got both June and July. Everybody should have an updated copy in front of them. This is amended from what went out in the packet because there were a number of suggested edits made. And we're going to start on the June minutes. I can go through, there's some grammatical recommendations I made that were highlighted. And then I also have on both, I have some more contextual edits that I'd like to recommend. The first is on June under public participation. And there was an exchange between Georgia and Gaia from the dairy. And in reviewing the video, I thought it was more accurate to say that, to highlight that Vinay was speaking from her recollection of the tape. So I made that suggestion in there. And that's simply that they had a disagreement about what that recollection is. That was the only substantive thing for June. Anybody else have any changes? And then moving on to July, again, there are some typos that have been edited. One of the changes, Maria, was that we misspoke and I corrected it so that we got it. Backman. And then I suggested that we, under item 6B, add just a line saying that we did spend some time discussing the applications for the pipeline, leadership pipeline scholarship. And those were my edits. Anybody else, anything else that would like to change? Any questions on comments on the suggested edits, or are we ready to have some? I'll move to agree. Right? Approving both the June and July as all in favor? Great. Thank you. All right. Moving on to public participation.
I will read the public participation guidelines. The city has engaged with community members to co-create a vision for productive, meaningful, and inclusive civic conversation. This vision supports the physical and emotional safety for community members, staff, and council, as well as democracy for people of all ages, identities, lived experiences, and political perspectives. For more information about this vision and the community engagement process, please visit our website, Boulder, Colorado. The following are examples of rules of quorum found in the Boulder Revised Code and other guidelines that support this vision. These will be upheld during the meetings. All remarks and testimony shall be limited to matters related to city business. No participant shall make threats or use other forms of intimidation against any person. Obscenities, racial epithets, and other speech or behavior that disrupts or otherwise impedes the ability to conduct an meeting are prohibited. Participants are required to sign up to speak in advance and use the name they are commonly known by. Individuals must display their whole name before being allowed to speak online. In-person participants are asked to refrain from expressing support or disagreement verbally or with applause. Traditionally, support is shown silently through American Sign Language applause.
Excellent. You're gonna put sign up for people.
There are two members of the public attending virtually and leader running.
And everybody in the audience here has. Great. Moving on to commission business. Do you have anything that they like to add? Since we've all been a question.
I can offer a liaison update. If that, nope, that's next.
Yes.
Nope.
But we're gonna be very excited.
Excited.
Yeah. But not as excited as you are.
Okay, I think, my comments fit somewhere else also. We can move on to liaison updates. Joe, I have a feeling you have one.
I do. I know. I had a liaison meeting, my first liaison meeting with the dance company Lemons Swim Shake. Show on the 14th and the 15th at the Dairy Center. And what I gathered from the meeting is that they are an established 25-year plus company. The struggles with the fact that they are constantly competing with every up and coming half-baked idea. And as we look at the rubric in terms of the impact of programs related to that could be quality and how we measure quality. That's, but yeah, relate to how long or professional or experienced a applicant is. And then because I am now representing so here at Social Club, I will also share that the same weekend on the 14th and 15th is our event Steam Fest, which we received an art education grant for, which we're very grateful for. But yeah, preparing for that event, which is going to be 2 days of family-friendly STEAM programming, activating our entire space with live music. I'm producing a science and circus show. We're gonna do a trash the runway competition, maker projects like creating Sid from Toy Story, Franklin toy creations with the kids, experiments with liquid nitrogen, dry ice, flavor tripping, all sorts of fun stuff, mini salsa lesson, salsa dancing, not salsa making. Could do that. But yeah, lots of fun stuff. And so commission is invited to attend. And I know that Lemon Swim Shake also invites us all to come to their show, and I'm gonna try to make it to the one on the 14th.
Thank you.
Sure.
B Mocha, selected their 5 shortlisted architects for the North Boulder campus. They're on the website, so if you're all interested in the teams, it's a combination of international teams with local architects, so it's gonna be exciting. The second phase in that selection is to do now RFP, which is the proposal, so that's in process. And then Boulder Metalsmithing, I'll be meeting with them at Novo's First Friday on the 6th, and they have an open studio. So encourage everyone to go and see the go.
I attended, I'm the liaison for Band of Tufts, and I attended the closing night last weekend in, they were at the Ellie Calkin Opera. And they did a piece that was on the Bronte sisters and brother, come to find out. And as usual, it was a quirky, immersive experience. They are so fun, you know, they have a rock band, we were singing punk rock songs from the 90s. There was a dance party. We moved to probably 6 or 7 locations within the Calkins. They had everybody crying by the end, you know, it was just, and they do really good work. So now that their production run is over, I'm hoping that for next meeting, I'll have a chance to sit down and kind of plug in with them on the grant and what they're going to come up with.
They did their test run at the junkyard, which was really interesting to see, because like they were entirely off script.
Yeah.
And were able to test their puzzles with us in a more kind of like test audience capacity. So I wish I would have seen the final
Oh,
version, because
it's
it's
so
so good
cool.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool.
Okay, firstly, Lauren, thank you for the warm handoff as always with our reassignments and our assignments for our renewed assignments for the liaisons. It's always so helpful to have that warm handoff. So out of that, just over the next month throughout September, I'll be meeting with Juliet, who some of you may remember as working at the Dairy Center, then the Library Foundation. She's a new development director for the Museum of Boulder, as well as Christopher, their executive director. We've got a meeting coming up in 2 weeks. The Boulder Philharmonic, they have their season opener next Sunday, which I think is the 8th. I have a meeting scheduled with Nick at E-Town, as well as Travis at Parlando. Shakespeare Festival, their season is closed out, and they'll have the next season announcement party at the end of October, and then we have a board meeting the following day. And so I'll be able to hear where the numbers came in for having not have the Mary Rippon Theater this year as well as next year, and find out where the numbers came in this year. And then we heard Michael from Jaipur Literature Festival, who came here last month, and I've got to reach out to him yet. But I also had a coaching session with Viva Theater recently, and met with leadership from them and talked about capacity and fundraising and board development. And out of that conversation, we also kind of came up with the idea for their first kind of big fundraiser they've ever done. And we've got the Gordon Gam Theater in the Dairy rented for Sunday afternoon, September 22nd. And we're going to show a film called Ghost Light, 1 word, 2 words of horror film. Ghost Light, 1 word, September 22nd. And then we're going to do a kind of a gala casual gathering in the lobby afterwards. We're going to do an ask for the organization. But Ghost Light is a new film that's out. It was shown very, very briefly in very select theaters in Colorado, and I didn't get a chance to see it then. But it's about the transformative effect of being involved in community theater, which is exactly what they do, and so many other organizations do. So again, that's Sunday, September 22nd. It'd be really fantastic to do that. Plus, the Gordon Gam holds 250 people, so let's do it.
I think a question on Boulder Phil, I think I saw that they just joined other organizations that get free tickets to the library. Did you talk about that in that program?
Yeah, I did not have that discussion. Yeah,
I think that's interesting to, or maybe all of the organizations.
that's a great collaboration.
Right.
Yeah.
Reach out to the library.
All right, we've heard word from somebody online that we need to project our voices. We need to put on Jeffrey's theater hat
Sing out, Louise.
and sing and speak to the back row through the screen. If you've gone back and listened to any of the recordings, it is extremely quiet coming through online. So just, I'll remind you if you're getting quiet and introverted. And that will probably help a lot. Great. Any other topics from the community at this point? I had a couple of items I just wanted to touch on. We had our commission equity training, which was great. So thanks for putting that together. And it was a confidential space, so there's not really a lot of room to talk about what happened or what we talked about, but we did have a really good conversation, I think. related to commissioners, how we're feeling about the group and things like that, so. That was really good. And I wondered if, there was an update about the grants manager position, how is that going?
We're very close. So hopefully very soon. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, Fran.
You're welcome. Whoop. That's all, those were my questions. Brendan. Public arts,
Public art. Welcome, everybody. I have a
loud,
public art. I'm gonna give a public art action item, which I'll require a vote, and then I'll go through a few, progress updates for some of our projects, so. The first, so our action item is, the election of our new standing selection panel member, Aaron Winston. He's the artistic director of Groundworks, which is formerly the Studio Arts Boulder. He's replacing Mark Villarreal, who was on the standing selection panel and the commission for several years. Yeah, so Aaron's been a staple at the studio since 2006, so he's been there for almost 20 years. And is a highly regarded member of the arts community. So you all should have received his resume in the packet. So if there's any questions or comments. I'll make a motion.
I'll move to approve Aaron, his last name with.
Winston.
Winston, thank you. Join the standing selection panel, bringing membership. for up to 5.
I would second that.
all in favor?
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you. I think that's gonna be a great addition.
yes, definitely. So on to some progress updates. Artist Sharon Dowell is installing her public artworks along North Broadway, the North Boulder Art District. I will be, and also Sharon Dowell will be at the Novo First Friday next Friday, September 6th. So we'll be talking about the work, handing out some little flyers about our dedication, which will happen on September 17th. That event will likely happen closer to the North Boulder Library. She's also installing panels on that little bridge over the trail right there. So we encourage you all to attend. Lauren and I will send out an email reminder as we get closer to the date. And like I said, we'll have more info soon, but if you drive up there, you'll see progress. So it should be complete by September 17th. Any questions on that? Western City Campus Art Selection members have selected 10 finalists to create proposals for 3 locations at the future campus. We are hoping to schedule our final presentation and selection meeting for October. I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but if there are questions, happy to answer. And Maria is serving as our voting member on the art selection panel from the commission. So I don't know if you have any comments about.
Sure, I was just gonna give you compliments for running a really thorough process. We went through a lot of artists, had a great discussion and involved very efficiently run by you, so. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, we did have 220 applications for our Plaza project, 183 for our lobby and atrium project, and 53 eligible applications for our mural project. So
And the mural is all Colorado, correct? All Colorado artists.
correct.
And then the other 2 were an international.
Yeah. So thanks for all your work. Any other questions on that project?
Other than maybe just a little clarification for anyone who's tuning in or watches the recording, because these are big ticket items, but I'll let you describe it more fully, but what this is, it's art that's being commissioned for installation inside of the new campus. It's going to be built where the old hospital is. And the idea that we've got this runway to do it is that the architecture and the buildings are being designed around whatever artist chose this, is correct?
I wouldn't go as far as to say the building's being designed around the art, but correct, we are
They're being
spending.
integrated more
Correct.
carefully than typical.
We're spending close to $1 million on permanent site-specific public art for this location at the Alpine Balsam. And this is the future Western City campus. So yeah, there'll be 2 suspended artworks, one in the main lobby of the pavilion and one in the atrium of the parking garage. 4 or 5 stories of 2-dimensional art in the parking garage at the elevator bays, and then a project in the small plaza at the rear of the building.
And then the architectural design team is in the selections, they're not voting members, but to your point, it integrates, lighting around the hardware or structural requirements, so it will be integrated into the buildings.
Definitely,
It's
definitely
really
major.
exciting. And I just wanted, if anyone was recording, watching, and what the heck is this? Why are we talking about this now when we're, years out from groundbreaking?
You can never start too early with these projects, and to Maria's point, yeah, we're just trying to make sure we coordinate so that the installation is seamless.
Right.
Once the building's
So
up.
congrats on all
Yeah, thanks. The next project update, our standing selection panel invited 20 artists from around the world, actually, to we invited them to apply for an Experiments in Public Art lecture or workshop opportunity here in Boulder through 2025. 5 of those artists have responded with proposals, so I will return next month after we work with our standing selection panel to review those proposals and come back to you with funding. Our tours are doing really well, so we kicked off kind of a public art kind of pilot tour program. They occur on most Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 9 a.m. and they both end at the Boulder Farmers Market and Civic area. If you would like to attend one of these tours, I wouldn't even bother signing up. You can just email me and we'll just make sure you have a spot. So if you see a date, you can go to the website and check out our dates, but if you're interested, feel free to shoot me an email, or obviously you can sign up online as well. The 2 coming tours are both sold out, but there's still a handful of other tour dates, so feel free to. And even if they're sold out, commissioners, you're welcome to just attend.
It's gonna be seasonal.
Yeah, it's gonna end. Right now, we have them ending the end of September. I think we might get a few more in October, but yeah, it's kind of a seasonal tour.
Yeah.
Outdoors.
Yeah.
I actually am gonna present at Junkyard Social on September 24th. So this is the Tuesday before our next commission meeting. At 5:30, I'll just be talking about the public art process. So if you're interested in learning about all the hoops we have to jump through to commission new permanent site-specific public art for the city, feel free to attend and invite your friends and family. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have progress updates. Was that all we were
It's
gonna?
all
Okay.
encompassing.
I know you have
Yeah.
a lot more going on, so, okay. Community vitality budget presentation. Do you have an intro for this?
I do. I have a brief introduction before Elliot will teach me. Sorry to steal your spotlight. So you saw in your packet the 2025 short-term needs assessment. Thank you for anybody watching and for those of you that participated in reviewing this with us. It's going to be going out soon to all of the participants. They see all of the work, how it came out on the other end. But a few highlights before we get into the budget, just so you have a sense of for 2025, what budget team and staff are looking at. Like, here's the research that we did. Here's what they were looking at whenever we were like building these budgets, right? So, and we'll go into these more in a little bit, but from a preamble. For general operating support grants, the 4 highlights are to extend for a 4th year with an inflation increase, to fully fund the 5 organizations that were previously partially funded, to allow organizations to move tiers. So several have grown in the last few years, which is amazing. So, and allow new applicants for a 1-year term. We are also, they also recommended that we continue the expanded rental assistance, so the venue affordability and the artist hiring incentive grants, that we begin to build a maintenance reserve. So we've had maintenance funding every year in the budget, but this would be a reserve for if and when things need some love. That we add an additional staff member to manage the work associated with the increased funding, and that we contract a consultant for longer term planning. So with that,
I have a question
Sure.
about that.
Yes.
The fully funded 5 organizations previously partially funded.
yes,
Refresh me on which those were.
sure. They were specifically Lemon Sponge Cake, Boulder Ballet, Greater Boulder Youth Orchestras, The Big Dream, and the Boulder Fill. Those were the 5 partially funded, and those were the ones that refund, there was a decision round, and then the next year more funding came in, so they were partially funded.
Oh, we added them on.
We added them
Right,
on
okay.
later,
I
right,
could not remember what that was about.
right, yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
Yes. Cool. So Elliot, I'm gonna pull up your, so we are joined this evening, thank you, by Elliot Levanti, our, actually, what is your title, Pauline? Sorry.
Business Services Senior Manager. It's a mouthful.
Not exactly very descriptive.
Yes.
It's very descriptive. Internal businesses, as in the department, administrative services. So I just.
Good, good.
I'm not sure if you're our accountant or assistant.
Both. I assist in the accounting.
Okay.
So we're gonna go over the 2025 proposed budget, and you all kind of get a little bit different presentation than our other commissioners have had. The city manager, as well as a few other team members, what's on the executive budget team, has gone through all of the proposals from across the entire city and made some pretty hard decisions. You'll see a little bit about the city manager's notes in terms of our budget constraints this year. You heard about it last year, in terms of the general fund. We'll talk about it a little bit more. And they have basically produced a package that's gonna go to city council and as the city manager's recommended budget. So in the process of all of this, what that means is we now have something to present to budget to ask them to approve. Previous commissions did not have that being sent to council, so they have some updates coming in September, spoiler alert. So a little thing about our agenda here, the formation and the roles and responsibilities. This kind of dictates more towards our general improvement districts that we manage, but it has a lot of into our arts commission. Especially now that we have a dedicated sales tax portion for arts, culture, and heritage. We're going to talk a little bit about the key accomplishments that everyone has done here. And then we'll get into a little bit more of the specifics of the budget. And we'll have some follow-up at the end with some suggested motion language. So some arts and culture key accomplishments. Wow, you guys really have things quick here. So a lot of money has been awarded in the grants program, as Lauren mentioned, some more funding has been provided, and then we still have the ARPA dollars that we've been working on chewing away at with some of the things, and then we tend to find some money in old programs and contracts for public art. So really going through not only what we have funding for, but looking back and saying like, okay, does this funding still make sense for this program or this project? And if not, can we realign it some way? So we've had a lot of success this year. Kudos to the arts and culture staff for really diving deep with us business services team and really looking at individual contracts and encumbrances and making sure that we're getting the funding where it's supposed to be. So some of those specific programs we've seen, Los Seis, that was installed this year. That was awesome to have that done. We had the Boulder Arts Week sponsorship, and then a big one here, the 2025 short-term needs assessment. So with the sunsetting of the cultural plan, we wanted to make sure we had some sort of bridge year available so that this new funding that comes in isn't for naught, and that we can actually appropriate it in a way that makes sense to the community, still falls back on the cultural plan as its kind of guiding light, but also kind of brings in some of the new initiatives that we are finding and some new requirements that we had as well. Some big works on progress, to Brendan's presentation earlier, we have the West End City campus, constantly doing the public art collection, nerding out on data collection and putting it into geocache or geospatial, I should say, information so that we can have a way of really managing it and having a great maintenance program on it. The Boulder Arts Blueprint and the creative neighborhood projects are still ongoing. And we're going to talk a little bit about some funding that's going to be in 25 for that. And then we have the artist census and the venues study.
Brendan, is the signage project still in progress?
The signage project will hopefully kick off next year because we still had to review all of the artworks that the city has and then what actually is maintained by our program. So we're still going through that process, but once we finally determine exactly what our collection consists of, then we can kick off a new signage plan.
So a little bit about the cycle, I don't want to say life and death. That's how I feel afterwards, but the overview of the process, it really starts with you all. And you guys have a lot of input into, especially like the grants programs and kind of like how the funding really comes into the arts community here in Boulder. So we try to take those along with council priorities, along with the community's priorities, and start to figure out how do we develop a budget based on the resources that we have to really meet those needs. And then we have to pull that into the work plan. So the other resource constraint is humans. So there's obviously the money component to being able to accomplish things, but we also have to have the people to be able to spend the money. Sounds contradictory, but it is hard to spend money sometimes, especially in government. And then we look at our financial projections and our strategic planning to make sure that we do have the funding for this. We never want to get in a situation where we're continually operating at deficit. We're spending more than we're taking in. So we try to balance the needs of what we're trying to achieve along with the resources that we have, and then understand how those financial projections work to that advantage. And then that all leads right into the development of the actual budget itself. We then submit that to central finance. The executive budget team that I mentioned is made up of the city manager's office and then a rotating panel of directors from departments. It's 2 directors, and I believe every 2 years it changes. So it kind of rotates those directors. So every director kind of has a different flavor and a different way of helping get through that budget process. So EVT then takes the budget and says, looks great, it doesn't look great, change this, do that, can't afford this, those types of things. And then it helps us really come up with a solid plan to then be able to present that to council, that they can then have their final say and the actual approval of the appropriation. And then we do it all over again. So some of the funds that we manage within Community Vitality are the ones here on the board. You'll see ARPA is still on there. Of course, that will be sunsetting in the near future. But it is still something that we're, working on to spend and make sure we get the money out the door.
What does that stand for in case they're?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
the American Rescue Plan Act is what ARPA stands for. That is the second, I guess, well, they have multiple tranches within ARPA, so I can't really call it the second tranche of COVID funding, but the CARES Act, if you remember the very first funding from the COVID pandemic, that was really the, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. Let's get a whole bunch of money out the door and make sure we all can turn our lights on to, okay, we have the dust settled. ARPA is now going to stand up to either bolster up communities or make communities whole again from any lost revenue. City of Boulder fared pretty well throughout the pandemic in terms of revenue. So we had an opportunity to use those ARPA dollars to really fund new initiatives, which comes at a cost beyond the money side of it, because now we still have funding for ongoing support for those same programs. So that goes back to that council priorities and the community inputs and everything in that development budget process. CCS, Community Culture and Safety, which is now the Community Culture and Resiliency and Safety tax. It's more of a capital tax. We do have a dedicated 1% portion of those sales tax for public art and for capital art, if you will, which is great. So that's an ongoing funding source, not an insignificant amount of money. Sorry, Brendan. Some other funding that we have, so citywide, and when I say citywide, it's more where is this money collected, not necessarily where is this money spent. So the arts, culture, and heritage tax that was passed to a funding, it's collected on a citywide level. So that sales tax then helps bolster up arts and culture, and then of course heritage. So we wanted to bring that in, and it gives us a little bit more flexibility for thinking about ways. As Community Vitality, we really focus on our 3 strategic pillars of cultural vibrancy, district vitality, and access for all. And of course, arts and culture has a big component of the cultural vibrancy here within Boulder, but also was that heritage component of it, and how arts and culture can also support some of those like walking trails and those types of things. So it's a great way for us to have a little bit more flexibility for how arts and culture money can be used for those types of things. Then of course we have the general fund, which is also a sales tax, and that goes citywide. And that is the one that is the most restricted in terms of available funds, the least restricted in terms of what it can actually be spent on. So that's the general fund. And then we do have 4 districts. One of the districts has kind of 2 overlapping districts, and they collect property taxes on the residents and businesses. And then we also have some funding that comes in from product revenue, like our parking garages.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think when my antenna went up a little bit when I heard funding for trails out of parks budget. I'll just call it the arts, I guess is it. Can you, it's arts, culture, and heritage. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And I think this group would advocate, obviously not going for alcohol trails infrastructure.
Yeah, it's walking trails in terms of like, how do you incorporate art into those trails, not building an actual trail.
Okay.
So it's more about the heritage component of it, like how do we celebrate the heritage and the culture of the community with those kind of like infrastructures? So it's not the building of the infrastructure, but more of like, how do we incorporate art into that infrastructure? Yep, good question. So the different types of revenues and expenses, I've kind of touched on this a little bit. We talked about the property taxes, the parking revenue. We also lease some spaces. So all of our garages are multi-use. They all have either some sort of commercial use in them or retail space as well. You'll see that in our storefronts here at this garage, also on Spruce. We have commercial properties at Randolph. We have the St. Julian Hotel. We have the Trinity Garage with affordable housing. So they all have different uses beyond just parking vehicles, RTD with the bus depot. So with that allows us to produce some lease revenue as well. That helps bolster up the district and helps us maintain our assets and provide some program dollars as well. Other revenues that we have, beyond that, we have some agreements and some other uses in place, MOUs that help us collect some revenue for lost revenue of spaces that would have otherwise been collecting, say, on-street revenue. Then our expenses all kind of fall into those general categories of government expenses. So this year, similar to last year, it's really been a constrained budget. Of course, one-time dollars are a little bit easier to come by than ongoing dollars. And the reason being is we have a much more accurate picture of one-time funding than we do about projecting out into the future, say 4, 5, 6 years. So things that are ongoing really rely upon the accuracy of those projections for those future years. Whereas one time we can say, yes, we did collect this amount of revenue and we do have a little bit extra money here. That being said, this year was incredibly constrained, as our city manager mentioned, and we really had to limit our abilities on taking on new positions and new initiatives. And what that meant is we really need to focus on realigning unspent dollars. So if we have programs that say had unspent dollars at the end of the year, and then other programs that were overspent, how can we shift that funding to still make sure we achieve the goals of that program that's underspent, but also be able to bolster up the programs that are overspent? So that was the realignment process this year. We had a big, heavy expansion on capital projects, specifically managing our garages. And the new dedication of the arts, culture, and heritage tax, obviously the big budget highlight for us. And then we're really starting to focus big on business and employee support. So that's really where a lot of our enhancements are going with the districts. Some headwinds, which I'm sure you have all heard about in the news, Initiative 50 and Initiative 108. There were 13 bills introduced into the special session for the state legislators. Of those 13, 4 are only surviving. So I don't know how well those are going to make it through. We will see. But what this means is any property tax revenue, which not only do we have that in our general improvement districts, we also have City of Boulder property tax as well across the entire city, could be potentially capped. So that's just something that we're thinking about as future funding needs. Budget staff tend to be very conservative when it comes to projections, and we'd rather underestimate how much we're going to bring in, and that way it comes in hopefully higher So we're not making a mistake of spending more than we're actually bringing in.
I have a question. The enhancements focused on business and employee support. Can you just give an example or two of what that would entail?
So one of the programs that we provide for our general improvement districts is the Eco Pass. So the Eco Pass program has been historically, well, it's changed a little bit, but historically, it's a great word, has been provided to just full-time employees within the general improvement districts. We're finding that we have enough capacity within our budget to be able to provide that to part-time employees. So that's something we're really expanding there. And then we're also finding ways to find some additional funding to support the businesses within our general improvement districts. And then, of course, we have our general operating support grants and a lot of the arts and culture stuff and how that supports the businesses. So we're really finding that from COVID and the impacts to businesses in the community, that we have an opportunity to help them and help create a strong, culturally vibrant business makeup here within the districts as well as across the city.
Related again to the sales tax or arts, culture, and heritage, how transparent will that budget be to all of us? And I think, you know, I recall reading, hearing in the media about some of that, not all, but like that art and culture. So will that be transparent, and can we review all, see that? And
Yep, 100%. So the fund financials should have been provided in the meeting packet. So if there's specific questions about the fund financials, we can talk about the 6-year health of the fund. Did you all get that?
Is it in your presentation?
It might be on the next few slides.
I saw a 6-year projection.
Yes, the 6-year projection is what we refer to as the fund financial, FUND, not FUN, although it is extremely fun. So that gives a little bit of transparency in terms of like where the dollars are going towards for the programs. And then we can talk a little bit, actually in the next couple slides, we'll talk about the expenses relating to operating versus personnel versus transfers. And any questions that you guys have in terms of what that money is actually being spent on, I'm happy to answer. And then it will be published in our budget book as well. Every year we publish the budget book, so you can see everything that the budget's going towards. Now, in terms of like specific line items, I guess technically, if you started clicking in the charts within our budget book, you could figure out how much did we budget for miscellaneous purchase services or miscellaneous consulting services. But it doesn't tell you specifically like how much is going towards small general operating support grants or medium, right? We don't have that high level, we don't have that detailed of a level within our budget, but we can certainly provide it.
And with the headwinds, they're basically being updated daily in the sense that at the Capitol today, there was a special session that's currently in committee that is less aggressive than the other initiatives that would end up on the ballot. And if it gets passed, it would basically cancel out 2 of those 4, I believe.
Yeah. So yes, the Governor Polis has specifically said he will not sign any legislation until the initiative, the ballot authors, if you will, pull their ballots from this year's. So it's up in the air. They have until, I believe, September 6th. This is Labor Day holiday, nothing
Literally
like
changing daily.
nothing like under the gun. But yes, I was very surprised to see today that 9 out of the 13 bills all lost.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to be in budget. So this is a summary of our budget changes across community vitality. Of course, there are some things in here that you'll see about arts and culture. I say gap year in my slide. I apologize. It is the bridge year. There's no gap here.
Together.
Sorry. So our biggest thing, remember going back to the realignments there. So we talked a lot about how important it was for us to do realignments, and you'll see on this slide, there are 2 bullet points about realignments and a lot more about enhancements. There are a lot of realignments that we did that are not really super great. It's like moving some money from admin to other work groups to help with office supplies and those types of things. So we kept those off the slide just to hopefully keep it somewhat entertaining. But a big portion of it was we found that even though we are expanding the EcoPass program, we still had savings, so we can support some maintenance operations. To make sure that we do maintain these buildings at a high level, so they are around for a long time. And they're also safe and accessible, all of those different things. And then we did find that we could do a decrease in our general fund transfer, so we were able to free up some general fund dollars. However, we had to use that money to pay for credit card processing fees. So a little bit change in our products, but that's kind of one of the realignments we did. Our major enhancements, though, we are going to continue the ambassador program. So if you've been downtown or on the hill and you see our ambassadors, they have the downtown ambassador shirts. That's a program that we help fund along with our partners at DVP and also CU Boulder. So we're continuing that again, and then we will continue the outdoor dining program, which I'm sure you've seen the parklets on the right of ways for the businesses who have been able to expand their footprint. Again, going back to the business support. And then the arts and culture bridge year, and the program expansions, and I'll get into I do have some very detailed specifics about some of the one-time funding. And then from the capital highlights side of thing, again, lots of work within our garages. So CMGC is our construction manager general contractor. So there should be technically a hyphen there. And it's basically trying to do the design and the build at the same time. So we find a lot of efficiencies in spending money in that process. So that's going to be starting in 2025. And then kind of going back to our garages and those maintenance operations, we really, we've heard from community members that not everybody feels safe parking in a garage. So we really want to highlight some security enhancements in our garages. Things like cell phone connectivity in the basement, things like lighting, cameras, those types of things. And then that 1% for public art on capital projects, as we continue to explore that policy, not just the CCRS amount, but also how do we leverage our partnerships with other departments who have capital projects to insert more art into those projects at a better time than when it's over. So this, yes. Oh, perfect. I put this slide in here. I had it pulled up in an email thinking I didn't remember it, so I put it in here. So these are the very specific things that are within the recommended budget. So this is what is going to be going to council. So they will more than likely not be looking at it at this level. Okay, so just as a caveat, now they may have some specific questions about what is the arts and culture heritage tax funding. And it is on us, i.e. staff of the city of Boulder, to be able to answer these things. So we have these in our back pocket. But this is a big slide on what the funding is actually going towards. Everything you see here, with the exception of the arts grant program specialist, is considered operating dollars. So the arts grant program specialist would then be considered personnel. And to Lauren's point, that is an expansion of the staff that's kind of required and necessary to maintain a good grants program, especially when we're adding $432,000 next year into that program. Some other funding you'll see there is the cultural plan update. So that's going to be a one-time expense, and it's one time in 25 and probably one time every 5-10 years, right? We don't really anticipate having to do a cultural plan or something like the cultural plan update every year. So that's not an expense we should see carried forward. So that 165,000 should then, in theory, free up for other operational type of expenses. We have the experiments in public arts, we have the public art maintenance reserve, and we have the creative neighborhoods. All more money for Brenda to manage. And that again is all one time. And you'll notice actually everything on this slide is one time. We looked at that and kind of had a little bit of a shock at first, but then started to chew on why was one time a better decision than ongoing. And we really started to lean heavily on, we need to get this cultural plan update in place. We really need to get the community involved and engaged to really understand how we want this money spent going into the future. So we knew we had that bridge year in 25. So say, let's strike while the iron's hot, make sure we have good funding in place for those businesses and those organizations who are around, and those ones who maybe missed the mark the last time. to be able to get them that one-time funding, knowing that 2026 is going to be our year to really develop a great budget that's going to be more indicative of the future programs that the arts and culture and heritage actually support. Before we leave off that, you can actually just questions on it.
Yes, I have one question. So Brendan, all the funding, public art, creative neighborhoods. That's in experiments. Weren't those in the previous budgets?
This is, we had, I think this year we had 30,000 in maintenance. Let's see, experiments in public art, we had a one-time of 300,000, but I'm probably only be able to spend about 50,000 this year. There's still some ARPA funds that I'm trying to spend down too for experiments. And then creative neighborhoods, I think we actually, this year that was funded through ARPA as well. So those funds will not be available next year, which why we're asking for that.
Thanks.
So the next slide here, so this is the community vitality budget, right? So you're gonna see some numbers on here like, wait, I didn't know we had $14 million in expenses. That's the entire department. So within our department, with managing the general improvement districts, with our district vitality program, with our parking, with our maintenance, with our enforcement, this encompasses everything that we achieve in our budget, if you will. So you can see it's a very substantial increase from 24 to 25, almost 33% increase. Of course, a large portion of that is capital, but even a 16% increase across an operating budget is a fairly substantial budget increase. And we feel very confident that we are going to be able to achieve everything that we want to with that budget. And a big portion of that is having that additional FTE with the grants program so that we have that extra capacity. Going back to the resources, it's not just money, it's people as well. So this is our capital improvement plan. We can spend a little bit of time on this. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it, but it kind of gives you an idea of what we have to do as a department for over a course of 6 years to really think about how do we maintain our assets that we currently own, right? Take care of what we have, but also how do we invest in new programs and continue to meet the needs and really meet those strategic pillars of cultural vibrancy, district vitality, and access for all. And you can see here with the affordable commercial program, we've had that as an ongoing budget allocation, and we're really going to hit it hard next year. Wink, wink, Matt. To really stand up that program and really define it and make sure we hit the ground running. Again, going back to that business support. Something else we're going to be doing is spending some additional dollars up on the hill to do some streetscape renovation. So I'm really hoping we can incorporate a lot of art into that. We're already incorporating a lot of art into the University Hill with our different crosswalks, our different murals. And it's really becoming quite the district and really kind of coming back. We saw the Moxie Hotel when it opened up as an opportunity to reinvest back into that district, to really make sure that as people come into Boulder, staying in that hotel or going to the conference center, that they're like, this is a wonderful community. I want to come back and I want to give you more money. I mean, come back and visit. So here is the proposed arts, culture, and heritage budget. So this is the specific budget just for these programs we mentioned. So you can see the majority of it is in operating dollars. Again, going back to the questions about the slide where it showed those one time. So most of that funding is in those operating dollars. That being said, it's an expansion from previous year. So it did increase funding. So if we were to look at the 2024 budget for arts and culture, which is a little bit different than arts, culture, and heritage because it didn't have a dedicated sales tax, it was relatively smaller. So this is a great expansion. And again, this feels like a very doable amount to chew off while still reserving enough in the fund balance that going forward, we have capacity and room to expand programs, create new programs. So that gives us that flexibility. And you'll kind of see that reflected in the 6-year projections of fund health. So you can see the projections for next year is around 3.5 million is what we're anticipating. And then each year is a little bit of an increment over that. Our partners at CU, in their business, college of business, they're the ones who help us create those projections for the sales tax, and they have given us always historically kind of like a 3-tier, like this is our lowest estimate, second to lowest, mid, 5-tier, I guess. We as an organization have traditionally gone with the very conservative outlook from CU and gone even more conservative. We are switching that. That kind of happened last year. Yes, for the 24 budget, or was it the 23? I can't remember. When I was in central finance. And we started thinking, let's get our projections more accurate to what we're actually bringing in, so we have a better understanding of what we can actually afford. So that's what you'll see here. So feel very good about that 3.478. I would say if anything, it's on the low end. So it may come in higher, but it does give us enough wiggle room that we can say, we confidently can spend $2.8 million and have enough budget left in the future years to do that expansion programs.
When you say you're being less conservative on the income side for that, and they were grading it 1 to 5, and that we were basically using a 6.
No, we were, well, 1 being the most conservative, we were using like a 0.05.
Oh, okay. So 1 being the most conservative, 5 being the most optimistic.
Yes.
Where are we coming in now as opposed to 1 or 0.5?
So we're like a 2.5.
Okay, great. Thank you. I didn't know if we'd gone like 4 or something and gone crazy.
Just pull
Just checking.
we took the seatbelt off, put our foot on the
I
accelerator.
love watching Jeff get excited about it.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much that we wanted to be able to say that we could spend more, but we wanted to be more accurate with how our funds actually looked going forward. So that's one of the reasons we started to switch that protocol a little bit.
We appreciate that.
Questions and feedback? It's dry, I know, I'm sorry, I love it. I talk about this.
Someone's gotta.
I'll say thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank
for
you.
this, like, this big
Our
scale,
benefit, yeah.
right? And it has been wonderful plugging into the community vitality department, because now we are on the ground floor, like Brendan has been starting out capital projects. We're working with other departments on urban design projects, like on things here and there that we would have had no idea, like from the library department, because you just don't get that sort of overlap. So it's other ways that we can work hard into everything we do here at the city. Yeah.
No, it's really nice to get that perspective where we fit in.
Yeah.
As you get close to preparing to present and get the vote from council, is there anything that we as a commission or individual commissioners or as citizens can do to lobby or campaign to be sure that things are passed?
I'm gonna speak optimistically and say we have a beautiful budget and they will pass it.
Okay.
That being said, the schedule of council meetings for the budget. The first one is September 12th. That is a study session. So the public is welcome to attend, but no public comment. On October, I literally just published all this, October 10th and the 24th.
I consider that.
Yeah, we can send you guys the specific dates. Those will be the actual public hearings of the budget, so the first reading and the second reading. So anytime we change an ordinance, and budget appropriation is considered an ordinance change, it has to go through 2 readings. And usually one's on consent and one is public hearing. The budget's 2 public hearings, which is unique. But it's a great opportunity for the public to be able to come in and speak on behalf of the community. So that will be in October. So that would be the opportunity to be able to have some public.
And you would reach out to us if you feel it would be behooving to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now going forward, with the budget that we have, it feels very achievable and very doable. It also feels flexible enough that we do have that going forward to be able to think about it. And the other thing is, thinking about the arts, culture, and heritage, and as it builds a fund balance, it could mean one of two, well, more than one of two things. Let's not make it black and white. You can expand programs or you could do big investments, right? So it has that opportunity as it's creating its own fund balance to be able to do those types of things. So that's the beauty of having a dedicated sales tax is now we know we can watch the pot grow, so to speak, or we can constantly go into the pot. There's that flexibility now. And I think the cultural plan update is gonna be a big portion of that and helping dictate, do we program all the dollars? Do we reserve some to be able to do a larger investment into the future? You know, what are those needs within the community and what does it look like? The other thing I will add too is that the general fund, I was not surprised when all of the program dollars for arts and culture went with the arts, culture and heritage tax. And a portion that's because the general fund was relying upon the sales tax that got dedicated. So it makes sense to be able to do that balance. And given the constraints this year, it's one of those things that I think would be hard to not be able to do things.
Maybe to answer your question, way that everybody can help right now. We did not, we're not proposing any motion language. We don't need you to formally approve the budget, but if you are all compelled to include a motion in your formal motion, in your meeting in support of the community vitality budget, you can certainly include that motion and its results in, oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
And its results in the budget packet. That goes to council.
Thank you, Chris.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Commission recommends approval of the 2025 Community Vitality proposed budget, including 2025 through 2030 capital improvement plan.
In that particular lineup was the 167,000, right? The second part of it, including the 2025, 2030.
That was the 6-year.
That's a 6-year capital improvement plan.
Okay.
That's,
Not the fund.
Oh, okay.
we have a second. Any discussion? Or questions?
Don't even hold that over stuff. You don't really ever see.
This.
Sure, do the garages, I know.
Garage for everybody.
Yeah, that's,
Every month.
that's a lot. It doesn't really involve us.
Right, that's my hesitancy
Yeah.
as well.
Do you have any suggestions on how to approach that? Yeah, it was like we changed the motion. How would the emotion be shifted that you would feel comfortable?
What was the slide with the icons again? Can you go back to that?
Oh, yeah, let's take a vote on the first, sorry, on the motion
Okay.
that's on the table. So all in favor? All opposed? Okay, so talking about how to shift this language.
And if we're doing this as a statement, as a commission, I want to make sure we're voting on things that are beyond our scope. As a
Okay,
commission.
yeah.
Or the slide with icons, didn't that have just the Arts Commission? Arts, yes, this.
These are the additions, so this is not the full budget.
Maybe can you go back to the worst like this? Trying to find the right language. Sure. I think you had a slide with the chart.
Specifically for arts and culture.
I think it's the chart.
We're just leaving on the second part.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to like make specific budget numbers or line items in the motion like this. You could just make a motion that you recommend approval of the arts and culture portions of its community vitality plan. And that will cover everything you saw that's pertinent to y'all's arts.
Is there nodding from your general?
Yeah, then I'm fine
Okay.
with that,
Okay.
given Matt's recommendation. Could we also name a parking garage after Caroline perhaps?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Bye. You're changing the language?
I'm taking a stab at it. I move that the Arts Commission recommends approval of the 2025 community vitality proposed
Given that
Budget.
suggestion, let's just say
as it
we've seen it.
aligns to
We-
the
Pertains.
It has our support.
to arts, culture and heritage. How's that?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
No, this is small. Thanks. Okay, hold on 1 second. Look at this. Yeah.
Look at that.
Right, so the floor is open for another motion, if somebody would like to make one.
I move that the Arts Commission recommends approval of the 2025 Community Vitality proposed budget as it pertains to arts, culture, and heritage.
Second. All in favor? It's unanimous, great.
Thank you all for your insight.
Thank you, Elliot.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Great, grants program.
Yes. Evening. Tell me. Okay, so we have grant matters. And then the cultural grant cycle blueprint, step 2. Let's just start with our grant report, single report. Nice light, I know, like less. At the meeting, you have these options: approve with questions, not approve, cancel, or postpone pending answers to specific questions. This is your motion language, unless you'd like to discuss, and I can take this now.
No,
I'll move it and approve the grant report for Boulder Symphony Music.
I second.
any discussion? Any comments people want to make about the reports? As always, I was excited to see what people could do with some support.
I love the springboarding that all of this did for so many different organizations.
All right, all in favor? That's everyone.
Thank you. So our cultural grants cycle blueprint step 2. Just putting this up briefly, these are the points that we discussed at the last meeting, things that you asked that we, take one pass around, please. Things that you asked that staff come back with some recommendations that means to address them in the upcoming year if possible. The first piece I'm passing around is a recommended financial structure. So we waited till after the budget had gone in, we began, Elliot, to bring up, can you please,
Move us.
yeah, can you move us that little screen there, as good as it is? Okay, so we have an additional column here to see the difference in increase from 2025. This is aligning specifically to the short-term needs assessment, right? You have renewals with an inflation increase, the organizations moving tiers, you have organizations being fully funded instead of partially funded. And the majority of the new funding, that approval, that 430,000 is in this difference increase for general operating support category. The other piece I wanted to point out is where it's highlighted there. Those are previously funded in part, not entirely, in part by ARPA funds. So we received support, 75,000, to continue that ARPA funding. This is something that Elliot mentioned, that now the ARPA funds are moving out. People were very satisfied with those awards that came up in the needs assessment, and they said, please continue those. And so now we are going to continue doing so. That's not specifically an increase, though. That's a continuation of what we've been doing, right? Which leads I'll move it down a little bit, which leads your grant budget to over $1.4 million. Congratulations.
And are the community projects and arts education the same number of?
Yeah, those are the same number, which I didn't know if there was any extra love to add additional ones to it, given the increase in applications.
Well, they've always been very, very well up, like people have applied to them very well.
Oh, yeah.
We did not, it's sort of a chicken and egg piece, that we did not ask about those in the needs assessment. So didn't feel comfortable of asking for that in a budget increase for the upcoming year. It's 1 year.
For the 1 year, I
Right.
understand that for the 1 year.
Yes,
I
that
think
being
I
said,
think our North Star is to.
Yeah.
Help
Right,
build that.
right.
Yeah.
right. That being said too, you'll notice that in these new categories, can you see this mouse effect? Oh, look at that, look at that. In these new categories, 2 in the extra large category, 4 in that, these are estimates. Like we genuinely, these are estimates.
Yeah.
Based on based on recommendations from the consultants and our own estimates, right? Of how many people we think will be changing tiers, applying new. If we don't get all of these applicants, if we don't award all this funding, we have a mechanism that we have already used to look at grant funding part of the way through the year and perhaps move some to other categories, right? So we've done this before where if there's funding left over from the grant categories, we look at them part of the way through the year and we can dedicate some of those.
And we only had 1 from GOS that the organization no longer exists.
That's right, right.
Lauren, on the leadership pipeline, was that it was just 1 this year, right?
We had 2 this year.
We had 2.
Yes.
This may be a little in the weeds, so redirect me if it is. But given the fact that we may be expanding the number of grants in each category, is there any sort of recommendation on going back to that meets granting criteria line?
Oh, like an
Rather than
eligibility
just going
system.
all the way down the line, right?
Mhm. That would be it. That's a wonderful question for a longer discussion.
Okay.
Right?
Two in the
So-
weeds for right now.
Well, it's also like, if we want to change the grant system so drastically, we want to be sure that we do that correctly and that we're doing the best version of that possible. So I want people smarter than me, some consultants, to look at other best practices around the country, right? Yeah, but a very, very good question, right? Because what we are looking at in the future is a lot more funding to support more organizations. Like, how do we do that in the best, perhaps easiest way possible, right? Okay, so we have a few pages, 3 pages of process improvements. And feel free to bring things up as they come up. Of course. And we'll talk through them, but I also want to talk through these staff recommendations and then the next slide, I think, will also answer a lot of questions. I'm excited for it. So some of the concerns that all might be addressed on my next slide is the perceived bias or perceived impropriety or actual bias or actual impropriety in decision-making. Step 1 is to update and clarify the appeal process, which we got to know very intimately this year. We can we will work on clarifying that will happen, but also creating a panel for grant making. And I ask you to hold off on that one for a second, because I do want to talk through that. Second is the weight of the scores in the scoring system, creating a panel for grant making, but also this is one that is a little, it was not addressed in the needs assessment, and I would like to see some of our contemporaries, how they're doing that, right? Like how are they best addressing the challenges of using a scoring system, right? An option is to remove the highest and lowest scores. I feel like that is a little kind of jumping the gun. Concerns regarding the consistency with diversity, equity, inclusion, and applying the rubric. Increased training with the Arts Commission, which we began and which we, I hope to continue in part with this commission, but then also later you get training when you begin as a commissioner, and then, like, let's continue that every couple of years as we get new commissioners. You can all realign on the things that are really important to you, right? But also to create a panel for grant making. An option just to carry on as we are, which, we need some help with it. And then commissioners applying for grant funding. We can also create a panel for grant making. Do you see where I'm going with this? But I would, for that, that's another one I think is important, the needs assessment did not look at it. It is important to do a big study if that is viable in a community of this size and a community that is this plugged in and connected to each other and on boards and, right? We don't want to be pulling people off supporting arts organizations, right?
And I don't want to transfer whatever issues we have by not addressing them and just putting them off onto another body, you know what I mean?
Oh, sure, right. Okay. So the big recommendation, which I think addresses some of our biggest concerns, is doing a pilot of grant panel. We're not including details here because again, staff want to investigate and be sure that we're doing the best version of that. But it would improve our system in a number of ways. Heighten conflict of interest regulations. We can build into their eligibility, whatever requirements we want. We can ask that they list out every conflict of interest. We could, ask them not to join as panelists if there is some conflict of interest. They don't have to live in the city of Boulder like commissioners do, so we can look more broadly. We can contract them and would pay them because, as you all know, it is a very expensive process, right? And with contracts, they have a certain set of requirements that would be perhaps heightened or different than what we can hold arts commissioners to. It would help all of you and your conflict of interest as applicants, so it would help remove that challenge that we have in a small community. It could help our efforts to ensure diversity and expertise, background, and perspective if we're able to look to hire panelists. We would figure out how this looks best, but you could continue to look at scores, look at applications, continue to vote on the final awards, which you do need to as part of our city law. So you would still be voting on the final awards, but we can integrate the commission how you are comfortable, right? In looking at applications, if you're concerned about a score, you can bring it to discussion, right? There are different ways of doing all these things, which is why we don't have details right now, but this is our proposal for our pilot in 2025, which because it's not a large general operating support application year too, this is a good year to do a pilot version of this and see if it works. You're not stuck awarding something for 3 years, 5 years, right? Because the general operating support, which is also our largest grants, you would continue to look at their reports and things too, right? And continue to be liaisons and be plugged in with the arts community.
I know you don't have any of the details, but do you have a feeling as to how involved the Arts Commission would be in the process for that panel? Like determining the process for review with that panel? So where I'm going with this is we have a panel for public arts, and the Arts Commission role is to just say, we approve that they went through the process as they were supposed to and came to a decision, and whether or not we like it or not, what we're voting on is the process. So I am assuming that it may look something like that, where it's, we're reviewing their process. And if that is the case, are we going to be involved in creating that process?
I would imagine, especially for timing, then the upcoming year, our rubric, I think, it needs some adjustments, right? We need to adjust some things in the upcoming year. However, we would stick with that rubric, and all of you are looking at that rubric and helping us edit and improve that rubric, right? Perfect. So you have a different, a little bit more intimate work in the grants program, right? Also, as I've mentioned, we can talk about how much access that you want or that you feel like you need to applications, to looking at the final scores. You are obliged by code within the grant program in a different way than you are by the public art program. So I want to be sure that we're all comfortable with how much input and how much knowledge you have of what's happening, right? Can I answer your question?
Kind of.
So
Yeah,
kind of.
probably as much as you know right now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, good question. Yeah. You're not convinced,
It answered our question. I'd be interested to see the business case on this.
the business case.
Yeah, as far as, you know, why it's being recommended and what's important about it. And really kind of the timeline and what involvement we have
Mhm.
as an arts commission. We're not doing a lot of this work.
Sure, right. Well, I think it goes back to many of the concerns that were raised with the grant program, right? Yeah, that's the logic behind this, is that we can adjust things while you're still involved in the rubric, while you're still involved in the system itself, right? And we can hold panelists to, or paid panelists, contracted panelists to a different standard. Right, and we can put in different rules and regulations for a paid panelist rather than a commissioner, right? Yeah, sure. Oh, sure, yeah. So something which would be a timing concern. But that, as you've noticed, when you are all discussing things with the commission, you need to do so. If it's going to be something made as a decision or voted upon, you have to discuss in a public meeting. And these meetings, like a panel meeting and discussing things, which, you know, applicants have said, I would like to be more involved, I want to explain myself, right? Sometimes we'll just do better speaking than they do writing. A panel would have more flexibility with how they interact with the applicants. Than a commission that all of your decisions and discussions have to be completely public. But these are all. Also, we have to figure out details. I will say that. With us moving in this direction at this point, we can build out, we're still aiming to build out a grant program for you to vote on in October. Yeah.
Can you go back again?
Sure.
And I just want to clarify what I think I hear you saying, because my concern when I look at the concerns in our process is that how would you avoid these just being kicked down the road to a different group of people? It's just another group of human beings, you know, acting in the ways that they are biased and that they, you know.
Don't live in a city.
And yeah, and who, you know, have their own issues with consistency and DEI. It's
Oh,
just
sure.
a different set of humans.
Mhm.
And not really addressing underlying issues
Mhm.
other than what we can tackle in the rubric.
Mhm.
And what I think I hear you say is that these types of things you anticipate controlling through contractual relationship. I would love to hear more about that. I would really like to hear more about how. What kind of contracts you're gonna be able to control bias.
This is exactly how the CCRS dollars have been granted out to nonprofits as using a independent panel. And so how the city has used this strategy is certain things that we can share about how that might been developed. So we're not just kind of.
Making it up, yeah. No, I think that would be helpful for me.
Thank you for verbalizing my concerns where I did not do that very well. That's exactly what I wanted to say. I'm like, what would do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
And there may be answers, I just.
Oh, yeah, I would hope so.
I think it's a big change that. I just would like to be mindful about it.
Yes, thank you. And if any of you think of things, if you wake up in the middle of the night, learning how to verbalize it, you can email me and ask me, call me in, like, we want to talk through this and hear what you think about it, right? That being said, we have colleagues that have done this before, we have other cities to work with, right? Like I think this is going to do some good work in the upcoming year.
On backwards, wasn't this commission increased to 7 just for the purpose of reviewing grants? And so would that would the commission then reduce that to 5, or I thought that was one of the reasons that commission was increased by city council.
Yeah.
So there's nothing inherent about having. That would mean anything to achieve. Reduce the number. It's true that the reason the number was increased is because of the workload, not only for the grants, which is the biggest workload they consider, but you also have costs with regard to your liaison relationship. It was just a lot of work as compared to other advisory commissions, right? And so, I think that it's worth considering in distant future about what's most efficient. But certainly not for this pilot, and I don't think for the first few years decided to continue it. Would that be a concern? I think that would be sort of a longer term view of, you know, what to do with boards and commissions generally and what efficiency. That said, this doesn't even have a whole lot less work, honestly, because, you know, you still have public art selection panels that you have to serve on, you still have the liaison relationships. There's all these other things that are happening, so we would just have to see how that affected it. But I wanted to add I'm sorry, before I go on, is that?
It was not a concern, just a question. So
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that answers the question.
I just wanted to add too that, one element to look at as we continue the discussion of how, the grants panel might help. That we're talking about is that, they would have a job description. And that job description would be to conduct their role in scoring and up to the criteria. You have a job description as well, and that's the roles and responsibilities that city council assigned to you. That's described in code, and that, you know, those are not exactly the same thing, and that would mean that the standards to which we hold you are to represent the community well and conduct meetings in a fair and well-stewarded manner. Conceivably, their job description would be something about, you know, meet all the necessary requirements of conducting the scoring. And that is, I think, the key to why it's one of two things, why this would be really efficient for what you want to get done, is that staff can build a job description, hire to that job description, and require people to meet those standards. And, you know, that just makes it, I'm not expecting anyone to fall short of those standards. What I'm expecting is that we would sit down and be able to say, this is your job, deliver, and then bring it to the arts commission. For instance.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to learning more about the recommendation. But when we had such frustrations 3-4 months ago, I remember Matt specifically saying, this is the process and this is what we have to work around. And I thought, well, maybe we would look at changing the process, but maybe this is changing that process in a way. So I'm looking forward to learning more on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have an idea. I want to share with the commission. But I think it goes back to your point, Caroline. Because it sounds like you kind of still want to have a little oversight over some of the grant scoring as a commission. So maybe one idea is taking a cue from the public art process, which is having somebody from the commission serve as a voting member. So maybe you divide those buckets of grants. You have a outside grant group that you're paying. We also pay our community members to attend these meetings to select public art. But one of you is also a voting member for each of those buckets so that you can come to these meetings and report back on the story and the process. Just an idea.
It's a little similar in CCI. We monitored the grant canvas. So we kept time and passing time for discussion. So they reviewed the grants. And then they had discussion and made a final decision. So there's timekeepers and monitors the process. So
Yeah.
it's a good solution.
I mean, it's always nice to have, have a commissioner help tell the story of the process that the group went to select, whether it's public art or grant recipients. But still also accomplishes some of these things that aren't.
And further to that too, we have more process improvements and other, so stepping back, the commission is looking at the system and how the system is, right? So I think that is, we have 2 more slides. This one just got up there. That also the commission is helping us improve the system itself, that then the panel is enacting that system, right? So you're not being like pulled out like, oh, that's a problem and I can't solve it, I can't be involved in it, right? One is interest in seeing quantities in applications, so this is another, I'm sorry to say a lot of these are this, but status quo until we can review with the consultant for, right, like looking at best practices. And there is an option to add a section in the grant applications, right, for quantitative estimates, and we talked about the challenges with that, and we also need to think about the arts versus return on investment, like if that is the right way to think about art, but I need somebody smarter than me to think about that. And then encouraging collaboration. Also, I am real curious how other organizations and communities do this. And if there's a good solid way to sort of lead from behind in this way, right? And then one more slide of process improvements, and then I'll open it up for discussion again. I think Maria has a couple of things too. Concern with the timing of project grants, missing programs early in the year. One I can do pretty easily. We can open the artist hiring incentive grant earlier in the year. So this one is a lottery style, it's eligibility and then a lottery style, and we can open that up earlier in the year, which is a fairly easy shift that we can do in the upcoming year. And the rest is, please help us figure out a timing, because if you do, decisions at the end of the year, you're always going to have a part of the year where it's really challenging because it's hard to plan a year out, right? Like as a nonprofit runner, somebody running a nonprofit, like, so we have to think about that, but I think that's a longer term discussion, shifting or splitting the calendar. The quantity of community project grants, as you brought up, thank you. It is always disappointing to have to define so many people when there's so many good projects, but for this year, let's look at it after we award y'all award the general operating support grants, and then revise the leadership pipeline process. Maybe we make the panel
We could get there
discussion.
yeah, we could get there last month.
We'll look at, yeah.
That was clunky.
Yeah, it was.
And then all I have left are, well, maybe I'll just here. So the schedule, we are leaving the general operating support grant decisions in spring. It should be, you'll do that big review of all of the 1-year recertifications, we call them, right? That big report. And then we will have some new applicants, right? Next year, which is exciting. You'll be looking at 8 grant categories, 80 to 100 individual applications, and looking from February to the fall. However, that might be a panel looking at a lot of those now. Is there any clarifying questions? And I'll take this down to just, if somebody's watching, it's a lot easier to watch discussion. Would you like to? Sure. Thank you. I had a few suggestions.
I think, I had a suggestion related to organizations, submitting for a grant together, is that each organization write a separate statement or letter about how it's beneficial to their organization. So there's obviously that kind of joint statement why the project's good, and then the individual letters. And my hope was this would make sure that both nonprofits or organizations were equally vested, and that it was beneficial to both of them. It wasn't sort of a subordinate type of organization. So was one.
Put a couple of and see if something sticks.
Right, that was one suggestion. And then the other was to add a statement under the project grants that we support fair and equitable pay for our artists. And to keep it simple. So that, and we had some discussion. These are all out of, I tried to kind of parcel through the discussions we've had the last few months and what were the key things. This came from the discussion of feeling that the artists were only getting a small portion of project grants. So instead of, right, instead of going all the way and saying that needs to be a minimum wage or that needs to be a certain percentage, we just make that statement should be fair.
Like a checkbox, is that what you have in mind for now?
I think we'd ask them to address that. Maybe how is the artist being equitably paid for this project? Perhaps it's kind of loose. There's not a metric there.
If the proposal's there, we'll see a line item for it.
I think one of the things we had talked about in the past that brings up to that is, the way that we look at the actual expenses in the reports. And whether that becomes a more, meaningful review. Because I think one of the issues that came up was through those reports and somebody looking and saying, wait a minute, this isn't actually what happened. This isn't actually what got paid out.
But that was on the post report or the midway report, not in the application.
Correct, yeah, that's when, yeah. So just like with those two work together, or?
What I first suggested to Lauren was transparency to the artist, you know, in the application and on board. We felt like there might be some challenges there with the
Yeah, for which category of grants is this?
project.
So that was my experience, and please, if those people that I've worked in a nonprofit, I just would have to think about that and ask around more about sharing your application documents to your consultants, or staff, or, you know, I feel like there's a privacy concern there that I'm not totally able to.
So, yeah, some of the projects where the artist might be a full-time employee of that organization, so they wouldn't be getting anything conceivably. And the project would be a program that they're doing that 1 year, or a production of some sort. They have to be on staff at that organization, so they wouldn't receive something extra, they're on payroll.
So I think that in stepping back, the goal is to make sure that everyone's paid fairly for their artistic talent. I think that's what, I feel like that's what we should advocate for. Is it just as simple as a statement or try to force that further? An artist shouldn't be working for $5 an hour. Unless they want to.
Can we look into that one and see, if there's other,
I think I'd recommend as a minimum, just a statement that, you know, we, these, project grants should be fair for artists. I think that would be the minimum.
oh, sure.
It's just
Yeah.
to bring it to everyone's attention that we should are looking at that. Artists.
Okay. I will absolutely look at that. Thank you. These are all good. And I'll look at I mean, asking for a letter describing partnership is like also kind of a low, like a small request that can have a big benefit to the organizations too, right? But to your family.
Yeah, I feel like, not to go backwards, but I feel like just the elephant in the room, the creative nations and there's, we've heard the creative nations voice more clearly. That I think that that issue may have gone away or been lesser. So that's what I'm suggesting. Is hear both voices and use that project and collaboration.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Or bring it to the commission for the next meeting. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Thank you for this. It's just for some. We do have a public comment here. Public comment? Public comment? And I believe we have
About this, the shifts to, yeah, improvements to the grant process.
I think a lot of it's really interesting for digging. Are you the same questions? What work, what need, it improves the process and makes feel that those created. Transparent. But the devil will be in the details.
Yeah.
And I don't believe anybody in Chinese stuff. Okay.
Good question.
Sure, shoot.
I mean, I know in the budget, but it's also in here a lot. This management consultant, who's gonna solve all of them problems.
Yes.
Is there a plan for when that might start and who it is?
RFP will go out very soon. So they'll start in a couple weeks after they're selected. But we'll bring them in as soon as they're selected then.
No, I just didn't know where in the process.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Bravo for the folks who helped us through
Yes.
the bridge year.
The bridge years.
Recommendations with the community and commission liaison. That was, it was just a great process.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Thank you.
I really enjoyed that, working with them.
I'm glad because you're gonna get a whole lot more of it. So you've signed up for friends. Okay, just some next steps for your thoughts, your calendars. Step 3 will bring you, we already have our proposed financial structure. We'll see if there's any shifts from city council level, but proposed solutions to some of the concerns that we've asked and some of your questions. Thank you. And then a proposed schedule. So we will, write out the actual grant schedule so you can see how that looks, sort of, that all of those details. And then grant info sessions, still TBD November and December, but I like to get them on people's calendars and if people are watching. Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
One more.
Thank you.
Yes. And those are our grant info sessions. We host them usually one online, one in person, and we'll have simultaneous translation at one of them and record it. So we'll have a version in Spanish as well.
Do you want any commissioners there?
I was just gonna make
Yeah.
a plug for the commissioners to attend those because the questions that are asked give you a great insight as to what's going on.
One.
tonight. Yeah.
We usually ask 1 or 2 commissioners max, so we're not conflicted, right? Exactly. And they do really appreciate asking you questions directly, right? Having that process.
So at the next meeting, can we coordinate that?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Cause I don't mind coming, but I don't wanna get there and then have.
Oh, yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
I mean, unless they get us.
And then just some upcoming dates. I'm working with Anna Sibia, who we met with for our equity and leadership training. We're gonna do another round of that. We're gonna talk about the rubric with her too. And that'll be in September, so we have some like speedier guidance for the upcoming year. But then Land Acknowledgement Committee, we have booked with Ernest House and our colleagues affiliates and Amy Kane, who work in specifically with tribal nations. So we're gonna be doing a training, a consultation, a discussion. It's gonna be really good. I'm really looking forward to it. To talk about kind of bigger ways and other ways that the Arts Commission can lean into that are further than your land development, right? That's what this discussion started like a year ago. And then your retreat will be October 23rd, 2 to 7. So we have one more. It'll be a roots of the group.
Can you remind me who is on our land acknowledgement committee within the commission?
At this point, it's actually, everybody's invited to that one. It'll be a training like our equity and leadership. So if it's training just means we do post about it publicly, but it is not open to the public because you're not making decisions and you're not discussing things that you might be making a decision, on, right? This is a way for all of you to be thinking and talking and collaborating, and it'll be similar to that. It might be recorded though, just for some other things, but details. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good stuff,
Yeah,
Great copy and paste in there too.
yeah,
Think about the panel.
right?
yes.
Set of book.
All right.
I know, it's like.
Yeah. Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, we have one singular great idea.
Moving on to Lauren Click.
Oh, no, what is it now?
Matters from the staff.
Not a good one.
Do we have questions about the manager?
Oh. Like, I have nothing more. I'm done.
Keep it up. Any questions? Great, all right, October retreat, it's a 5-hour meeting. And we, at the next meeting, we're gonna have to make some decisions about the agenda and an activity. Did you
Yeah.
want commissioner input on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So those who were at the retreat last year, remember, that we had, what was our activity throwing the
It was
yarn?
the
Yarn.
That was so great. That was so good.
I think you should do it again.
Oh, great. In years past,
Bowling ball.
we've had consultants and facilitators who actually specialize in bringing working groups together around their mission
I
and
think we learned
values.
more about each other through that. though.
Yeah, so
I think
that's
so.
fair, but I would like to also open it for. If you have thoughts or recommendations on an activity of that nature that you would like to include, or somebody that you'd like to have staff see if they're available to come and help.
What about inviting Hannah back?
Yeah.
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 You like her?
I really like it.
Oh, yeah.
I think
I would be really excited about that, sure.
She could help frame things,
Yeah.
like the lens that you wanna look at.
Mhm.
So if you have any other thoughts, in addition, send them to Lauren.
Yes, please.
And she'll check.
Yeah, please. Circus performances, something with fire.
Awesome. And so not out with a bang, but a little vibration.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.